These are the instructions for how to replace the display for a Dell Inspiron E1705. Begin by disconnecting all the power and removing the batteries. Then open the display and take some preliminary preparation steps. First, I suggest placing some tape down to act as an adhesive for placing your screws so they don't get lost. Place a protective sheet over your keyboard to help it, and make sure you have static protection so you don't destroy any of the electronics when we're taking it apart. Remove the rubber bumpers. There's 2 on the bottom and 4 on the top. And then there's 2 at the bottom center. There's 2 things that have to be removed, little covers over the screws, for a total of 8 screws that are going to have to be removed. So remove those screws. The 4 center ones are larger screws than the 4 corner screws, so remember those and keep them separate when you place them on the tape. Once all the screws are removed, you can see everything's placed on the tape so that they don't get lost, and they'll be ready for reassembly. Now, it's good to use like a credit card or something to help start the removal of the bezel. Pull the bezel slightly out towards the outer edges to release the latches, and it should just pop right off. And set the bezel aside for later reassembly. Notice there's 4 screws on each side of the LCD holding it in place. So each of those 4 screws needs to be removed and placed on the tape for later reassembly. Once the screws are removed, the LCD should be able to be separated from the lid and turned downward. Be very careful. You should probably tilt the display slightly forward so that you don't stress the cables as you lower the LCD down. There's an LCD connection cable, and then in the towards the hinge side there's a backlight connection cable. Press the 2 pins together and pull the LCD cable out, and then there's a little blue tab there for removing the backlight connector. Once those are removed, the old LCD can just be removed and set aside. Carefully remove the new LCD from the static wrap, and I would suggest placing the static wrap above the keyboard just to protect, as further protection from any static or anything. Place the LCD in and with the cables over the top. Reconnect the LCD cable and the backlight cable. It should just snap right into place, and then you can rotate the display back up into position and replace the 4 screws on each side of the display. Notice I left the protective film over the display while we're reassembling it. I'll remove that as the next step. once the screws are all in place, you can then remove the protective film and then replace the bezel. The bezel should just snap into place. Once that's in place, then you can replace the screws. Remember, the 4 screws at the outer corners are smaller than the 4 to the inside. Then replace the rubber bumpers. And replace the 2 covers. Flip it over and replace the battery pack. And then open it up and press the power button, and hopefully it all goes well. Yes, we have a display. And that concludes the assembly or replacement of the LCD for the Dell E1705 laptop.